Well, footing basket's knocked up the other day. Just finished one post. I welded up, ready to go. Holes drilled for the truss. That's bolted on the other half of those. Clamped and bolted on so that I know that technically all the holes should all line up. That's a bit of a pain in the bum, but managed to work it out. This will be the first post that will go on the existing wall. So hence, I've drilled a couple extra holes because it was only 90 by 90 for the 6-inch post that was there. So the bottom holes, I'm hoping I'll be able to drill a hole in the concrete to put a decent length screw bolts in, just for an added extra little safety margin. Yeah, pretty happy with how that turned out. Rightio, got the posts painted, so they're all done. Started on the trusses. Now, what I did initially was cut a couple of plates, tack them in, and then that let me get the angle correct before I contemplated welding anything else in or cutting anything. I will freely admit that I fucked that up. I cut that at 500mm because the spacing that I want between the RHSs for the webbing is 500mm. I didn't allow for the pitch. So it was 491 or 2, I'll say 492mm there, which whilst not really a major issue, would have annoyed the absolute crap out of me. So what I intended to do was make up these jigs so that I can slide them along as I'm welding the webbing in to maintain the 500mm spacing all the way along. So what I did was made up 2 of them, belted that end piece out since they were only tacked in, and realigned it for the 10-degree pitch. So that gave me the 500mm for here. Next thing was the webbing. The other shed is, or the other truss is in the other side, which is actually bigger than 60 foot, the other half of the shed, or wider than 60 feet. So what I wanted to do was cut those at 42.5 degrees. Yes, so anyone that's used a drop saw would know that the vise is adjustable from 90 degrees for the cut to 45 degrees either way. Now I wanted 42.5 to keep with the other shed, but it also means that you don't use as many parts for the webbing, because rather than 45 degrees and having the angle further up, 42.5 gives you less that you need to use. So I was contemplating taking the jaw off the vise and grinding out a little bit more out of the one end. The die grinder wouldn't fit and I wasn't going home to get another bit, so I thought perhaps a smaller bolt might work. So I took the one that was in it out, put that in, and bugger me dead if it did not give me a perfect 42.5 degrees. So I've cut all them. Sat them in. I've used a bit of 40mm as a spacing. Originally I just used a nut off the bench. Don't know how wide that was. But a bit of 40mm box section with 2 inches from that end ended up being virtually 2 inches. It's 40 something mil, I think, on that end. Shed update. The footings poured yesterday. This bastard was an absolute nightmare. The other two went alright. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. 3 feet down, there is a 90mm drainage pipe that pretty much goes right under the bottom that I went through. 3 feet down. And I thought, yep, cool, not that hard. Couple of rubber couplers either end, new bit of pipe. No, of course not. That'd be too fucking simple, wouldn't it? Talk about the gift that keeps on giving. There was 2 pipes there, one disused, the other one, there was a vertical pipe coming down with a what I thought was an elbow, so I thought cool, because it had smashed the, how I didn't auger through that one I don't know, but it had smashed the end of the fitting off the bottom, so I thought, right, I'll just knock that bastard off, I'll get a new elbow, I'll put that on, a bit of pipe, rubber coupler on that end. Wasn't an elbow, was it? It was a fucking T-piece. So I've shoved the pipe in as best I could into what was left of the fitting, because the rubber coupler wouldn't go over the fitting. So 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Pipe up, it's just as good as the rubber over it, I suppose, probably better. Rubber coupling on that end, and close your eyes and pretend you didn't see it. Worst case scenario, because that comes from, there's a drainage sump over there. When the tank used to be here, this drainage went from here, and there is another drainage pit there from when there was a massive hay shed over there. So this 90mm one runs into that sump where there was a 6-inch one coming in. There's a 6-inch one goes around the back of the other hay shed, and into a sump over in that corner of the hay shed, which runs a pump and pumps the drainage into the channel. So worst case, now that I've got a drain on this paddock, worst case if this is stuffed, I'll just put a sump pump in that pit there and pump it across into that drain. So that's done. This morning, painted the trusses. So now they're done. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And early this morning and this afternoon's job has been removing this wall, the busted ass wall. Which probably came down easier than what it will go up again. But worst case, you just replace bits. It's not that bloody hard. So yes, that's down, just need to remove the 2 posts now. We'll have a use for one of the posts. You'll see that later on at some point. But now just waiting for, let these cure for a few days before we move on and start tackling removal of that section and replacement of post, truss. And then that section there will go here and here, in reverse obviously. So that's the current state of it.